today. Today's presentation is part of an ongoing series of webinars that 360 Energy has been presenting to keep corporate leaders objectively informed of the many changes, which includes risk and opportunities occurring in the energy industry. Today, we're quite fortunate to have Per Brevik joining us from Heidelberg Cement in Norway. Concrete, as we know, is a necessity to develop a sustainable society, but the carbon footprint associated with cement production can be quite a challenge. The industry is among the big emitters that has a responsibility to develop future solutions. In practice, commitment to high-level goals isn't enough. Heidelberg Cement in Northern Europe launched back in 2013 a zero vision describing how the path to carbon neutral concrete products. Basically, to reach that goal, carbon capture and storage is very much essential. Product development for them has taken a long time, but this year we are closer than ever to realize the first full-scale capture plant at a cement plant. That being said, I'm going to introduce Dave Arkell from 360 Energy just to say a few words about us.
Well, thank you, Julie, and Per, thank you so much for joining us. Much appreciated. Listen, there's a lot of interest in this discussion today. We have interest throughout Canada and around the world, quite frankly. We've noted people from Italy, Spain, Saudi Arabia, and India that have interest in this session. So allow me to quickly introduce 360 Energy. Over the past 14 years, we've been deeply engaged with large industrial customers in the cement industry, steel, chemical, pulp and paper to develop sectors, to develop internal expertise and management processes that effectively manage energy expense. This process, when followed, we have found that customers have achieved savings from 5 to 10% repeatedly year over year. While this is not new, it's clear that a focus on carbon reduction with a goal of zero emission is at the forefront of plans now for industrial customers, especially with the increasing taxes and the environmental need to act now. So I just want everyone to know that 360 helps industrial customers to leverage this work in energy management so they can bridge these best practices to zero emissions and achieve carbon reductions. And we're ready to certainly help your organizations, and we know today's information will be of great value to you. So, Per, we'd like to thank you so much for spending this time and educating the marketplace on what can be done in the cement industry. And I'll hand it over to you, Julie.
Okay, so just before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. As we usually do, we're going to keep everybody muted so we don't have any of the background noise. Please do feel free to use the questions feature on the toggle for the webinar, and hopefully we'll get some time to answer some of those questions today. Either way, we'll make sure that those questions are answered. Also, just a note, we've got some upcoming webinars. We've got one coming up quite shortly on carbon in the UK, and we've had I apologize. Dave, do you have the dates for those webinars coming up?
Julie, we'll be sending that out right afterwards, so we'll have that and notify what they are and the topics. So we'll have that made available. Okay.
Okay. So you know what? I won't keep us waiting any further. I'm going to hand things over to Per to bring us through today's presentation.
Thank you, and hopefully you hear me.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks. Yes, as I say, as a headline said here, carbon capture is a unique chance for the cement industry. And as you might know, cement is the main ingredient in concrete. And I think it's so important that we look at what's the goal now. we want to develop a sustainable society, and then you see constructions, you see infrastructure, everywhere we will have the need of concrete. And concrete as a building material has a huge ways of using it and a lot of opportunities. But the challenge is the CO2 footprint from the cement. And that's the reason why we're focusing so much on it in Heidelberg Cement in general, and especially in Brevik, Norway. Yeah, we have a lot of challenges in the world today, and the population development is where we see an increase. The growing is not reduced or anything, and people is living more and more in cities. And then concrete is the only, maybe not the only, but one of the most important building materials to use, because you can build higher, you can build tighter, and you have a lot of infrastructure. So with the world population in mind, concrete is one of the building materials for the future. Very shortly about Heidelberg Cement. We are among the big ones from building materials, one of the bigger groups. We are maybe the biggest in the world. We think so in aggregates. We are number 2 in cement after Holcim, and we are number 3 in ready-mix concrete. So it's important what we are doing, and I think the treatment of CO2 is an important issue for the group at all. And especially when you come to Brevik, the plant here in Norway, one of 2 cement plants in Norway, they're owned and operated by us. But the Northern Brevik is a medium-sized cement plant. We produce 1.3 million tons of cement, which and our market share in Norway is about 75%, maybe a little bit higher. So it's an okay situation, definitely, but we are always the one that is challenged from outside. But for a long time, the cement industry and the concrete industry, we are challenged. The building material, concrete is challenged from wood, especially when you're here in Northern Europe. You have maybe the same in Canada, but the competition is tougher and tougher also in Europe. But we launched this zero vision, which tells us where can we work. We can work every day with the energy efficiency improvements that the big steps have been done a long time ago. We substitute as much of the fuel, which is normally coal, with biomass or different types of alternative fuels, which is so important. We make new cement products using new recipes, using less clinker in the cement, etc. Also have a reduced CO2 footprint from our products. But the vision we launched was that our products should be carbon neutral by 2030. The product, not the cement, but the carbon products. But to reach that goal, carbon capture is so important. And you see from the green triangle on the screen that this is absolutely necessary if we should reach our goal to be carbon neutral at that time. But then we have the goal. But we also can say that cement industry is well suited for carbon capture. Although we are a medium-sized cement plant, it's a quite big emitting point with 800,000 tons per year, which we have in Brevik. But typically, there are big emitters, big sources for CO2, which it can be captured. Another positive thing, and as an advantage, we have cement plants are often located close to sea, because you have to distribute the product afterwards. And the process emissions, which is the chemical process, represents 2/3 of the CO2 emissions, and the last third coming from the fuels which we use to that. Because we have the cement, in the cement technology is that you heat up limestone, and at around 900 degrees C, then it's split into CO2 and carbon oxide. That's the process, and that's inevitable. We can't avoid that. That's so important to have in back in mind. And the last thing, we have a high concentration of CO2 in the flue gas, between 18 to 22%, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit less, different places, etc. But we have a high concentration of CO2 in the flue gas, which is definitely an advantage when you are going to capture it. The Norwegian demonstration project, and there we have a full-scale chain from emissions, capturing, then you have conditioning, transport, and storage. The Norwegian government has taken the responsibility that they want and has a goal of establishing that. They said first we should be operating by 2020. Things takes a much longer time, especially political issues. So we are now talking about 2024. But we have two capture plants. We have the Northern plant, cement plant in Brevik, and we have a waste energy plant in Oslo. Both of them putting 800,000 tons per year into this project. But these two capture plants, we are competing. We don't know if the ministry will or the government will fund one full-scale project or two. I'm quite sure it will be a project now, so that they skip everything. I don't think that's an alternative, but one or two capture plants will be decided to come. Then you have the transport along the coast to the western coast in Norway, in Øygarden, that's north of Bergen, where it will be intermediate storage, storage for immediate time, and then with a pipeline out to the North Sea. This is a big project, and we have done a lot of work. I come back to that, and there will be a parliament decision on this at the latest this autumn. And a little bit back to our way of thinking. We know, as I said, the carbon footprint from cement, that's the challenge. And we had a first full-scale desk study we talked about in 2005. That we said, okay, it might be interesting, etc. But when we came to 2011, we started actually to see, is it possible to develop such a project at the plant of Brevik? And we have taken the steps, and therefore it's good to have a ladder to see the way it has been done. But we have done small steps that has been important for us ourselves to develop and mature this. And definitely, it's fine that we did not go with bigger steps when you have to discuss this with a group centrally in Europe. So I think also Heidelberg Cement has matured during this process. But we started 2011, and the most important things we did was actually the clinic project, testing project of 4 capture technology on real flue gas. It was tested during the years 2013, 14, and 15, and then afterwards we are reporting, etc. But we tested liquid amine solutions, which tested solid amine solutions, we tested the membranes, and we tested calcium looping, which is very, very early technology. But we concluded, and that's, I think, so important, the technologies for carbon capture at the cement plant, they are available. They are technically feasible, but it's far too early to see this as a normal economic project. So we are dependent on support. And when we started this work, the Norwegian government had a 2020 perspective that this should be in operation by 2020. Then, as I said, the political processes have been delayed, etc. But in that 2020 perspective, Aker Solutions amine technology was the only one which was ready for full scale or mature enough, etc., to go on further. So we decided in 2015, 2016 that we should develop the project further with Aker Solutions technology. So together with them, we have executed the concept study and the FEED study. When you come to the technology, it's a different way to do so, and we shall not go into details here. But it's a combination of using chemistry and a lot of temperature ups and downs. You cool it, you heat it, etc. So the first when you have the flue gas from the plant, then you cool it, you mix it with a liquid amine in the absorber. In the next step, in the desorber, then you heat it again, and the CO2 is split between clean CO2 and water, steamed water, etc. And then under pressure, it's conditioned, and it will be a liquid, and it's intermediate stored at the plant in liquid form, and it's transported with ships afterward in liquid form, etc. And then you can see from the 3D model which we have developed that the existing plant is in gray, and all the colors is what we are going to build now for this project. And if you start from the left, we have some transformers, etc. We need more. We need more electricity for it. And then you build a new plant, a capture and conditioning plant, which shall be integrated in the existing cement plant at the same time as we are producing 1.3 million tons of cement every year. That's the main challenge to do this integration, and not at least to move and to take this, get this into the plant without destroying too much of the activities we have today. So we are going to capture 400,000 tons per year, 55 tons per year of CO2 per hour, and that's 50% of the CO2 emissions from the plant in Brevik. Why not 100%? The reason is that we wanted to test another thing, just to see if it's possible to use the excess heat from the plant. It could have been to produce electricity, etc., but we haven't done that. We have this excess heat available, and calculating backwards when we found out, okay, we have enough energy to capture 50% of the CO2. It's possible in the future to increase the capacity, but that will also be a lot of other things we will have to expand in addition. But after capturing, conditioning, then it will be transported in the pipelines to the intermediate storage, which you see on the right side, have yellow tanks at the right side, and then you have, after that, you have new pipeline to the loading point where the ships come. And the capacity of the intermediate storage is about 5,000 tons. And that is also the capacity we shall deliver every 4th day to the ships. But when the borderline for us is as when we load the ship. After when the ship leaves, our responsibility has finished, etc. Then we are done our time. So this is a way that that you can see, have an impression of how the full activity will be in Brevik with a new capture and conditioning plant integrated. So a little bit about the status as per now. We have submitted the study report to the government. There is an ongoing process with verification, third-party quality assurance, both technically and economically. They will finalize during June, or is at least the plan. We have final negotiations with the government, and we negotiate with the main supply technology providers. That's Aker Solutions. We are working with them now and discussing. And then there is a political process. Because we have also submitted, which is not, I didn't mention here, we have also submitted our offer to the ministry of what we are going to build, cost calculations, etc. And then we discuss the funding for which part of the costs the government fund. So the political process will take place this autumn. At least I think it will be so. And at the same time, we have an internal approval process in Heidelberg Cement. And if we manage to agree with the ministry and after on the level we are today, I'm sure that internal approval will be okay in Heidelberg Cement, and then it's up to the politicians. And we started to say that, okay, then the CO2 footprint from the cement is the challenge for the building material in concrete as a building material, concrete as a building material. But we are also part of the solution, definitely. We have a responsibility, definitely, as a cement producer, since we are one of the big emitters, the industry. We are on the same level as the steel industry, etc. But these companies, they have also committed to the UN Sustainability Development Goals. And we have to show good results because we cannot only speak, so we have a responsibility. We have to show that we are working towards the same goal. And in that respect, I think we need the front runners. They are crucial. They're showing the way forward. They show, and that's one of the main goals with the Norwegian demonstration project, that is to show that it is possible. At the moment, yes, it costs a lot of money, but I'm sure that the cost of these capture equipment, etc., that will be reduced. We have, put it another way, we learn all the day, every day, when we are working, a lot of experience. We are working with to see how we can realize this, how we can show other people, etc. Because from my point of view, it's so important that we don't need to replicate earlier mistakes. There have been a lot of good projects, but they have not been a success in full scale. So lessons learned and benefit realization are important points when we are discussing with the industry and showing that this is interesting. And then from my point of view, this can be learned. This is so important for the cement industry, but also other process industry can learn from us. And the interest from other industries in Norway is it's increasing all the time. And I think that's a good way forward for us, for all of us. So what is important is realizing a full-scale project that can also form a basis for further R&D projects. Today, I think it's too much copy-paste from that. CO2 is so, carbon capture is so important, etc. But it will be a new morning, a new day when you have a full-scale project as a starting point or a basis for new R&D. So this is what I wanted to start saying in the beginning. Our footprint shall be reduced further and further. We are on a good way. I think it's a really good chance. We have never been closer to have a realization of a full-scale project in the cement industry, and we are ready to take it even further than that. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Per. I just wanted to remind everybody about the question function in the presentation toggle. Do you have time for a couple of questions, Per?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so one question we've got for you. What was the biggest challenge that you faced in advancing this work?
Can you please repeat it? It was a little bit difficult to hear you.
Yes. So what was the biggest challenge that you faced in going ahead with this and advancing the work on carbon capture?
I think we have all the discussions about the political discussions and approval, etc. That's one thing, of course. But when you come to realizing this, the main challenge will be to erect this plant. We will have a 3.5 years building period, and at the same time we are going to build or to produce 1.3 million tons of cement per year. That's our bread and butter, so we have to succeed on that one. So integration is the main challenge.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. So I guess without any further ado, I wanted to thank you again. Apologies to everybody, including Per, for the technical issues that we've had today. If you do have any further questions, please do feel free to reach out to us, and we can definitely help you get those answers. So yeah, again, without any further ado, Per, thank you again very much for your time today and for your patience as we figured out the technical things. Oh, I just had another question actually come in, if you're okay. How is this likely to affect the cement price out of your plant?
Please repeat it for me.
Yeah, so the question that we just got in is, how is this likely to affect the price of cement that comes out of your plant?
Yes, that's one of the usual questions, but it's a really good one.
Yeah.
I think for houses, residential houses, etc., concrete will represents quite a small part of the total costs. But if you think that the price could double, then I think for a residential house, the cost will increase by 1% or something like that. That's showing that the concrete is not the biggest part of it. I see very much the same in offices, etc., where that will also have a minor effect on the costs and the prices. But when you come to infrastructure, where they use a lot of the part of the costs are connected to, such a huge part of the costs are connected to the concrete, then I think we will could see a 5 to 8% increase. That's what we are calculating. And one important assumption here is that we are calculating with a doubling of the price of cement. I don't think the price will increase that much. And on the other side, I'm quite sure we will see the same development as we have seen in wind and solar power, that the costs of developing this will reduce considerably quite soon. And you can see, you see on the boundary dam project in Canada, which is now going to build the step number 2. At least they say, and I believe them because I know they have a lot of experience. They say that the step 2, same size, will be 35% more costly, no, reduced cost than on the first one. So if you take 1/3 reduction, then you see that it will be much cheaper after some time, but the first project will always be quite expensive.
Okay. So I've got actually couple questions that have come in. So what kind of increase is anticipated for electrical requirements at the plant by the time this is operational?
That's a detail I think I have a little problem to answer actually. But, I think I don't have that in front of me. I'm afraid.
Okay. So another question that we have, what's the projected cost of carbon used in the case study?
Of the study we have done, or just, do you think of the study we have done, or the total cost of the project?
For the project, we're just wondering how you used the carbon cost when you were calculating the type of payback in this.
Yes, that's the only income we will have is the reduced carbon cost, because we have the emission trading scheme in Scandinavia or in Europe. That's the income side, and we do our calculations on 30 euros per ton of CO2. That's in Heidelberg Cement. We use that at the moment. It's just around 20 euros per ton, but it has been more than 30 and so on. So we have different scenarios about the carbon costs, and that's the way we are going to have a payback on the project.
Berta, is there an escalation of carbon costs that you're factoring in this project on an annual basis?
I think if you could repeat it, I think it is.
Sure. The question was, is there a suggested or do you believe there's a percentage escalation of carbon cost on an annual basis going forward? Was that factored?
Yes, I'm sure that the cost of CO2 in Europe will increase. We thought that 40 euros per ton was not that far away. That was before the corona. And now I think it will escalate from the 20 euro level which we have today. About year, 2 or 3 years, maybe 3 years, we will be back on the level of about 30 euros. But it will increase. But I'm looking at, if you look at the project, it's okay when you're talking about commercial, the commercial issue, it's okay that the price goes up, but it's very difficult to be an industrialist like I am to say that we want to have a higher CO2 price. But we need it if we are going to have a good payback or a payback at all on the project.
Right. Thank you for that.
Okay, just a couple more questions have come up. Have you considered the potential to go carbon negative as a result of the carbon reabsorbed by the cement products in use?
Yes, we have definitely thought of that, and that is part of our ambition, or this CO2 zero vision, and that you have the carbonation, this opposite process. And in the other way, we use a lot of biomass, which is also you're not counting with them when you are making your calculation, etc. But which we think we can be carbon negative or contribute to the carbon with carbon negative results, etc. If we continue to use between 1/3 and 50% of the fuels is biomass, etc. So yes, we are considering that.
Okay. So another comment and a question. So this the comment says the plant there, they believe that it's is it government subsidized, and how much additional investment capex is required to do this across the industry?
Yes, definitely. We will be, if you realize it will be heavily subsidized. Yes, definitely. But I think the cost will go down. I don't think the governments will contribute with so much money a lot of times. But I think there will be, for Europe, there will be, actually, you will see a situation where you have three sources. You will have the EU Innovation Fund, which can give you some funding. You will need some national funding, and then you have to contribute yourself. If that's 1/3 for each of them, I don't know. But that the part that will reduce is the funding from the national schemes, and that what will increase will be the contribution from the businesses. But then if the cost of the equipment will go down, then it's possible to realize this in the future. But you will need the funding, at least in the first 10 years, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, I think that's, we just had one more come in. Did you consider a business case focused just on the pre-calciner, or where higher concentrations can be achieved?
I think when you're talking about the business case, I think one of the most important things is that the society demands low carbon products. And in Norway, we have already cements which is defined as low carbon cement. And they have also decided that if you go on further, and we realize this, then the cement from the plant in Brevik will be called extreme low carbon cement. Maybe we should call it green cement. So you are dependent on having business models that somebody demand that you have products which have a low carbon footprint. That's the future, I am sure.
Okay. Well, thanks. I think that's probably the end of our questions. So again, I just wanted to thank you very much for your time and your presentation today. Had a lot of good information in that. Dave, was there something you wanted to add before we finish up?
Yes. Thanks, Julie. Thank you so much for the presentation. And as Julie indicated, we're going to, if there's additional questions that people think of, please send it to our attention. We'll forward those to Per for his response if he has an opportunity. This is a very important topic, and certainly Norway is leading in this area. So we'll get as much information as we can to help educate the rest of the market on this, how this might be something to consider in the future. So Per, thank you so much for all your time and your presentation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invitation, etc.